Wednesday. It's kind of raining here. It's not too bad, but still not the greatest day. But hey, that's all right. We're still here. We're getting you guys your fix, and that's what I'm about. So Wednesday, or today, sorry, we got a lot of good stuff, obviously, and I mean, hell, like I said, we always are gonna have some really, really good stuff to talk about because hey, get your fix is the best. I promise you, it will be, and it is actually at this moment. So polls for merchandise, if you guys are interested in getting merch, are now on Facebook and Instagram, and also my personal Snapchat. I also did put it on my personal Facebook page, Trey Wicks. So if you guys want to go vote on that, as of right now, so far we got 100%. At least I haven't really checked in the last couple hours, but when I did check, we have a couple yeses, or all yeses and no nos when I did check. So that's really promising to see. So if that continues to go that way, we're going to get something for you guys, which I probably will regardless, but we're going to get something for you guys set up by the end of this week so it's ready for next week. So you guys can go on there and, buy or get your fix essentially. So we'll have more coming out about that, like on my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of that when that decides to, or when I decide to make that. But anyways, go vote on that, and yeah, so I can get that shit set up for you guys. So with that being said, are you ready to get your fix? Well, to start today, we're going to talk a little bit, or to start, we're going to start off with the Chicago Bears. Now, this is a very interesting team. This year, they kind of took a dive, okay? Their defense was still performing exceptionally well, not the greatest, but they still did their job. The offense, though, probably the most boring offense I have seen, I guess I have seen in a while, but for sure last season that was the worst offense and the most boring offense that was in the NFL. Just looking at it right away, they had a quarterback problem, okay? 2 years ago, they go draft or trade up to take Mitch Trubisky. I'm pretty sure it was a second overall pick. A lot of fans were not happy about that because, he only played 13 games in college. You really didn't know too much about him. He came in his first year, did just fine a little bit. Like, he did what you would expect a guy to come in as a rookie to do. And that was what the Bears were like, all right, let's stick with him again. And then all of a sudden, bam, he's not your guy no more. And you don't want to admit you're wrong as a GM. That's a red flag. You can lose your job over stuff like that. And I'm very on like the Facebook. Signed him to a 3-year contract. Don't really remember the numbers. But they're like, okay, we need a solid backup who can come in and be the starter if need be. He helped the, Super Bowl, or he helped the Eagles win the Super Bowl. And that was a really big step in his career. The dude was contemplating retirement, came in for an injured, MVP-worthy Carson Wentz, and did his job. So that was 88 receptions. So he's still getting a lot of you're still getting a lot of production out of this guy, but he wants it to be a little more because he is that number one receiver there alongside Anthony Miller, who's a good number 2, but a solid 3 at receiver. So, like I said, last year, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. He could be more productive in that red zone and, flat out just scoring the ball from anywhere on the field. But I don't think he has any right to be mad at the same time because those stats are still really, really good. We've seen Justin Jefferson last year as a rookie put up 1,400 yards. This guy put up 1,100. So was it due because maybe he was, bitching a little bit, trying to get those guys to throw him the ball, and then they finally did throw him the ball, or what was it? I don't know. I think he just kind of has to swallow his own his pride a little bit and just continue to play and not worry about what's going to happen, I guess, statistic-wise. And then you also look, running backs, they had nothing, okay? Tariq Cohen was hurt. David Montgomery really didn't show he could be a starting caliber running back. He had spurts a couple times where he was getting the job done, but overall, I do not think, David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen are the answer. Okay, they're going to be solid 2-backs, someone that's you go in there and you're able to back up, like, let's say it was Aaron Jones or a Dalvin Cook. You bring in that second guy, like how the Vikings have Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. I don't see Madison as a solid 1-back, but I do see him as really, really productive two-back, and that is what I think Tariq Cohen is, and David Montgomery. They're going to end up keeping those guys. I think Tariq Cohen really brings a little bit of kind of an interesting factor there because he's smaller, he's quick. Where David Montgomery is that typical running back. He's thicker, he has big legs, and he's just going to run right through you. Not really do too many fancy moves like Tariq Cohen would. So I think this would be a very good keep for the Bears. Now, they did also this offseason land a former Chiefs running back, Damian Williams. We've seen him do all right. Like I said, this guy's he has a potential to be a starter, not a for sure starter, but definitely a good backup, a decent one. So they still have a lot of troubles at that running back position this year, I think, and we're going to kind of see how that transpires because I'm pretty sure Cordero Patterson is not on that team no more, and he was their other running back, which is, I liked it, but I also didn't like it. The dude's too tall, okay? You can't miss him on the football field. You know where he is at all times, okay? Long hair, all you have to do is look for long hair, or tall guy, and you found it. It's not that hard for them to figure that out. So another thing also last year is that offensive line was fucking garbage. Absolutely garbage. You couldn't, that was one of the main reasons I believe their production was so not as what it should have been. That offense was boring because that offensive line was so bad that Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, and they could not do anything. They literally couldn't. I mean, we see Nick Foles come in early in the year. Then all of a sudden we see Mitch Trubisky come in the middle of the year. It's because they couldn't do anything because that offensive line was not allowing them to have enough time to do something. And they really needed to fix that. And that was one of the things going in the offseason, I'm pretty sure, at least I hope it was, that they needed to figure that out. And actually, they did go out and try to address some of those days ago. I can't remember exactly where he went. I'd have to go look, but that's on me. But with them knowing that they fucked up on Mitchell Trubisky, okay, they knew that they couldn't re-sign him. They knew they had to let him walk and let him go in free agency, so the Bills ended up taking him for that one-year deal to be a solid backup for Josh Allen if he were to get hurt. I doubt he will because the Bills, for the past, probably just last year, 2 years ago, they were kind of making that push, but last year they really punched everybody in the mouth in that division and said, this is my division, not yours no more. New England, take a seat and get the hell out of here because this is the Bills division. And so that's going to be a really big help for the Bills. But now back to the Bears. So after they decide to let Mr. Trubisky walk, they're like, we're going to have to bring in another quarterback just in case we can't land one in the draft. And so they go and sign Andy Dalton, who played for the Bengals and then played for the Cowboys last year, and they signed him to a one-year deal worth $10 million. He can earn up to $13 million, so that's a good deal, especially for where he is at in his career. You're not really sure if this guy can be a starter. You're not really sure if this guy is a solid backup. I mean, he did all right. He stepped up really nice for the Cowboys when Dak was hurt with that gruesome ankle injury. That was awful when I watched that. But he went 216 for 333, which is 64.9%, about 2,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, 8 picks. So not great by any means. The dude has some problems to figure out, like the interceptions or touchdown interception ratio. You have to be able to score a lot more than that, especially when you got the likes of Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb there. You just have to figure it out. And I believe that the Cowboys will this year, obviously, maybe a little bit. They're probably not going to make the playoffs again. I think Washington has that division. But, with the Bears taking Andy Dalton, what this really does is just add a security blanket, okay? Because they went up in the draft, so I'll talk about this right now, okay? In the draft, right away they end up trading up with the Giants, okay, to take Justin Fields. I believe is the 10th or the 11th pick, one of the two. It's right there. I'm pretty sure it was the 11th pick. But if they weren't able to get the quarterback they wanted, they knew that they could go get Andy Dalton and be just fine. They have Nick Foles, who won a Super Bowl, and now they have Andy Dalton, who has that veteran experience and that backup experience. So now with them going to get Justin Fields, what do? You got two guys. One has still 2 more years left on his contract. You got one guy you just signed for a year, and now you got this rookie. Honestly, in my opinion, I do think that Justin Fields is going to be the starter for the Chicago Bears. And if not, that's going to be kind of really shocking to me, mainly because, like I said, I don't see Nick Foles or Andy Dalton as a true starter in this league going forward. Nick Foles did have his shine, but, I mean, we've seen what he has done in the past. Not too good. I think he's one of those quarterbacks that, like not Christian Ponder, what's his name? He led the Vikings to the Minneapolis Miracle. Jeez. Case Keenum. There we go. Case Keenum. He's like one of those players. He's going to get the job done every once in a while. You're not going to see consistency. You're not going to see him win a lot of games. And if he does, that's when everyone's like, holy shit. That guy can actually go out there and fucking play? Like, bring him here. Like, that's what I'm thinking is going to happen with Taylor Heineke with Washington. He had that really good outing in the playoffs. I thought this dude balled out. Actually went there. He was a backup for the Vikings for quite a long time. But I think that's going to happen there too. But what this does now is you're going to have Justin Fields go out and start. But if he doesn't, who do you go with? I'd go with Andy Dalton just because he's had that starting experience with the Bengals. He played many years with them. I can't remember. I think it was 14 or something. Probably not 14, like 8. But still, he did a decent job, okay, with the Bengals. Now, take in mind that the Bengals organization is in complete shambles, always has been, and never will be that great unless they figure out a new GM, a new owner, and kind of take on the right path. But with the Bears also doing this, they got that extra quarterback. Now they have room in that quarterback room. Okay, so what are they going to do? They still don't have enough protection. Well, they also... on CBS Sports, they actually gave them a B+ for this draft. Obviously, with Justin Fields, that's going to boost that grade a lot. And even one of the reporters, Ryan Wilson from CBS, he said he had the Bears draft class, and they take Tevin Jenkins, okay, Oklahoma State offensive tackle. This guy's 6'6", 300 pounds or 320 pounds. Okay, from the film I watched again. Offensive lineman, you don't really know. It's a hard position to really translate from college to the NFL because you're going against straight men. But that size at 6'6", 320, he should be just fine. And from that film, one thing I really, really noticed is that he's very, very versatile. Okay, he can play the right side, he can play the left side, he can literally do it all. And that's one thing, like I noted yesterday. Offensive lineman, I think, is the easiest position to be able to move spots. If you're a guard, you can go to tackle, different sides. Center's probably the only position that you're going to have a little more work in with the quarterback getting snaps, but he can play everywhere. This Tevin Jenkins kid is the real deal. Really, really good draft choice by these guys. He also uses his size to his advantage, which, I mean, I'd hope you do at 6'6", 320. You tower over most of those guys that are like 6'4", 6'3", still 280 or 260. Not that big, but I think this is perfect. He's going to be a really, really good pass blocker. He's going to be able to protect Justin Fields, and he always finishes, okay? No matter what happens. There was a couple plays where the whistle was already blown, and his momentum was taking him so far forward that he ended up laying everybody on their ass, and that's what he does. He's going to put you on your ass no matter how big you are or how good you are. Okay, you're going to have to do something against him to put him on his butt before he does you, because 9 times out of 10, that's what's going to happen to the defender that's going up against him. He's also really capable of moving people out of the way, making these big holes for Oklahoma in his college career. And, that could be because lack of talent on the defensive side for teams, but he did play, I think, in the Pac-12. So you gotta kind of think this guy has what it takes to be an NFL star and be one of the better linemen in the league. But like I said, this is the first year we have no idea what this guy's going to do. Is he going to get hurt? Is he going to start? Is he, what's going to happen? You don't really know. But I do really, really like this pick. Now, running back wise, I'm still a little skeptical. I think they thought going to get Damian Williams was going to be their answer. It could be. I'm pretty sure the guy's he's quick. But I'm still a little nervous. And I think that's exactly why the Bears traded up to get Justin Fields. It's because they know the running back room is nothing, so you know what they're doing? They're doing what the Baltimore Ravens did. Taking Lamar Jackson, able to run wherever, scramble out of the pocket, and go. Be able to dish the ball if he's in trouble, and do all those things. And I think that's what the Bears are looking at. Okay, not a solid running back group, a good one, but we got a great running quarterback who in his college career was awesome. He ran a 4.44 40 in his 2 years at Ohio State. The dude was 68.4 completion percentage, 63 touchdowns, 9 picks, and he also had 867 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure that last rushing yard stat was last year. So he can get it done on his feet. He's quick. He brings that. He's a mix, okay? He's a mix of a pocket passer and a scrambler. He's going to be able to do it on both sides. You're going to see a lot of him breaking outside that pocket, especially with how bad that offensive line is. And when he does, expect him to either throw the ball away or try to make a risk and have a big play happen. But overall, these first 2 picks or the first 2 rounds for the Bears, absolutely stellar. Now, do I think it's going to be any help to their offense? A little. I don't think it's going to be as boring as it was last year. I think that we're going to see a little more pizzazz, especially with Justin Fields there and stuff like that. But they are in the NFC North. They got the Green Bay Packers. They've always been consistently solid, except for, a couple of years ago. I'm going to need Weller to help me out here if he's watching or not. But at the same time, they also got the Lions who are boosting their stuff up, getting a lot of help. Penny Sewell on their offensive side. Defensively, you have Jeff Okudah from last year, who I think he got hurt a little bit last year. He just didn't play much, but they're still capable of doing a lot of things. Okay, and then you got the Minnesota Vikings. These guys are just, in my eyes, they're ruthless to the point where they just give up. So, and to answer Joe's question, what I think the record or what the Vikes record could be, honestly, at this point, I do not know. Obviously, they're not going 500, 17-game season. Talked about that yesterday. But I think if I'm going to give you guys a little closer dig in to see what those records are going to be, we'd have to wait till that schedule release party. But I think the Chicago Bears are in a good place to increase in performance and do a lot better. And that's what they need to do. They need to get on the right page and continue to move forward and not move backwards like they have. And so hopefully this is not, I'm pretty sure Matt Nagy's still their head coach, but hopefully that's not the end, and hopefully he can get his team rolling. Now, besides the Bears taking Justin Fields, we kind of talked about this last Thursday when the first round was going on, when we had that bombshell of a show. Really didn't want to cooperate, if you will. It's not even wanting to cooperate with my Twitch on this, but that's okay, because Facebook and YouTube are better. But the 49ers, okay, held the 3rd pick. We all heard about those Aaron Rodgers. We talked about that, all those rumors. And who are they going to take? Well, they took Trey Lance. Now, they did this mainly because, not just drafting a quarterback, they also they were just really uncertain with Jimmy Garoppolo. They knew they needed another quarterback because this guy does not pass the ball very well. Okay, he's gonna help, but mainly what the San Francisco 49ers are all about is that running game. They're quick, they're explosive, they have really good blocking. So they knew they're like, we got to go get that piece that might set us apart from the rest of the people in the league, so that 2 years ago, if we end up doing if we end up doing what we did 2 years ago, going to the Super Bowl, playing Patrick Mahomes again, we are able to at least have a shot, which they did. But Jimmy honestly fucked up on a lot of throws. One deep one, he missed the receiver by 10 feet. Granted, it's probably not the easiest throw to make, but he still missed him. That was a big play. But they knew quarterback was on their list. So they go take Trey Lance, that 3rd pick in that first round. Now, there's probably going to be a lot of what-ifs with this guy, being that he did play FCS football instead of FBS, and that's just they're the same thing, Division One, but the FCS is the lower Division One schools, like NDSU or South Dakota State University and stuff like that. So now I really don't think that's going to matter. We did see Carson Wentz come from NDSU and do just fine, put up a MVP type season, tore his ACL, kind of threw that out the window. But I think he's going to be just fine, okay? This kid knows how to play ball. In his 3 years at NDSU, he only started twice. And in 2019, 2,700 yards, almost 2,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, no picks, only sacked 12 times, had 1,100 yards rushing, and 14 touchdowns rushing. Okay, then you go look at last year. Dude, he only played one game, okay? And that was mainly because of COVID and stuff like that, which honestly sucks ass, but he showed that he could still play a little bit. Now, there was, the stats were 149 yards, 50% completion, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, had 15 carries, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Okay, but like I said, that's in one game. He did have that 1 pick. So are we looking at a pan out right away? But who knows? I mean, they do have all the weapons in place. They went and got Deebo Samuel, or I think he was already on their team, Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk, they drafted last year. They don't really have a good 3 wide receiver for them to throw to, but that's where George Kittle comes in. Okay, the dude's an absolute animal, knows when to balls out, knows when to ball out. Dude has a motor. He honestly reminds me a lot of an old Gronk in a way where that he just has that, I don't know, that fun attitude, that go-get-him kind of attitude. He likes to have a lot of fun, but when he hits that football field and he puts his helmet on, straps him up, it's game time. Okay, he means business. And that's going to help out the Niners a lot. And I hope he's 100% healthy this year. We didn't see him healthy last year. So that's going to be a very, very big factor in the Trey Lance scenario. Now, going off of that, also their defense was riddled with injuries. Probably the most sickening type of injuries you could imagine. They went to New York, played the Jets, and now a lot of players came out and said that grass is absolutely horseshit. They need to change it. That turf is awful. And we did take a lot of people down, like Nick Bosa. So with this defense being back 100%, like 100% healthy, that is, that's going to help the Niners be able to be in a lot of games, be able to win a lot of games. And I honestly think the main reason the Chargers are able, or not Chargers, the 49ers are able to have won so many games the last couple years is because of that defense, where that offense is just going to run downhill and try to put up points on the board, which they will every once in a while. They're not going to do it consistently, but they're still going to put points on the board where that defense is going to be able to hold those guys off from scoring. Now, another thing, though, about that defense, I'm worried about the lack of, I guess, not really the lack of corners, but the maturity, like the level they play at. I'm worried about that. We didn't really see them go up and get too many balls. They let Patrick Mahomes pass all over them. But that's the name of the game. It's Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Those corners need to clean up their game a lot. I don't think, I'm not really 100% sure what is going to go on with Richard Sherman. He's still a free agent. And I do think they need him back. Just to bring that veteran leadership back in that cornerback room, in that defensive back room, just to give him a little bit of an edge going forward for this next season. Now, that might not be Richard's plan. He's a very smart dude. He can make a lot of money outside of football. So, I mean, that's kind of how it works out. But going back to that Trey Lance, I do think he's better than Carson Wentz. I am worried about the lack of interceptions in college and the fact that they could end up to be a buttload in the NFL. But, that just goes hand in hand with a lot of things. So, now if you guys are watching, I do have my comments up on the screen so I can see them. Tell me if they're blocking, like, my beautiful little face over here, because right now one of them is blocking it. But just let me know. I don't care. Comment so I can see it and just make sure. But with Trey Lance, I think he is going to be able to help these Niners just enough, just like Jimmy Garoppolo in his first year, to maybe get a chance to get a taste of playoff football. And that's what everybody wants. It's really hard to make the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. It's really hard to go to a Super Bowl, let alone win a Super Bowl. And that's what everybody dreams of, especially as a young kid. And you're watching football, you love football. You're like, I got to go to the Super Bowl. I got to, that's my goal in life. I want to be the quarterback. I want to win the MVP and do all that. But the reality is, you're not going to. So being put in the right position to succeed is crucial in the NFL. We've seen it with the Jets. I mean, Sam Darnold, God rest his soul, but I'm glad he's out of the Jets situation because he got put in he just got put in a bad place at the wrong time. And that could be looking up now with Zach Wilson and the other guys they ended up going to get. But FCS football is a lot different than FBS football. Granted, they could play at the same intensity, the same pretty much everything, if you will, but the better talent is in FBS. So you're not 100% sold on this guy. This guy's from Marshall, Minnesota. He went to NDSU probably because it was closer to home, and shit, I don't blame him. I would too. He went there. He won a national title. I think 2 of them, and that's just kind of how it is. But I'm really excited for the 49ers. I hope they figure out something to do with Jimmy Garoppolo because he deserves a chance somewhere. I don't think it's going to be with the Niners unless Trey Lance absolutely, shits the bed. But overall, that was a good choice at the number 3 pick. So enough with Trey Lance kind of news a little bit. We're going to kind of jump over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they did obviously have one of the rougher seasons last year of all the NFL teams, but I still thought the Jets were the worst team, even though the Jets couldn't even do themselves, or the Jets won more games than them, and they couldn't do themselves a favor, so the Jags ended up with that number 1 overall pick. And, we talked about this last Thursday. They obviously took Trevor Lawrence. But before we get to Trevor Lawrence, before the draft, like long way before the draft, they go out and they say, hey, let's rebrand this whole fucking thing we got going on here. So they go and they hire a new coach, Urban Meyer. Longtime head coach of Bowling Green State, Utah, Florida, and Ohio State. Okay. He, in his 17 years, 187 and 32, he has an 85.4% winning percentage. Now, I do love this, okay, because like I said, they're awful. There's a couple that pop in mind right now. Nick Saban, coached the Dolphins. They didn't do shit, couldn't do nothing. You thought that guy was going to be the savior? He wasn't. It's just how it works out. He goes back to Alabama and makes a living. The dude can retire whenever he wants and be just fine until he dies. I bet his kids can even be fine until he dies. He has a lot of money. He has a fuckload of money. So, and then another one, Chip Kelly. I know John's probably going to love that one. Chip Kelly goes to the Eagles, and you know what Chip does? He takes that whole team and he fucking plucks their feathers and says, nope, don't want you. You might have been a prominent piece of this offense, this defense, but LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Donovan McNabb, get the hell out of town. And you're thinking to yourself, like, what are you doing? Those are all your guys. That's all you got. He didn't give a shit. Lost a lot of games, got his ass fired, now he's back at Notre Dame, where he belongs. He's a way better college coach than an NFL coach. And we all agree on that. Okay? But now what's going to happen with Urban Meyer? I don't think necessarily he's going to lay an egg. Okay? I think we're going to start to see the Jaguars come up. And a lot of that has to do with this year's draft. And that, has to be kind of obvious with when you get the number 1 overall pick, you expect your franchise to grow and get a little better. You don't expect them to go down. I mean, we've seen that with the Browns for multiple years. I'm going to take a quarterback, didn't work. I'm going to take a quarterback, didn't work. I'm going to take a quarterback, didn't work. And they finally go get Baker Mayfield when, in all honesty, I guess not. Looking back at it now, I don't think they should have taken Saquon. Baker was a good choice. But I'm pretty sure they could have took Patrick Mahomes or somebody else in that draft. But who cares? They did what they did. But the Jags, with hiring Urban Meyer, okay, I hope this doesn't happen, that he just lays an egg in the NFL, because he is a good coach and he is a good mentor. He knows, like when Dwayne Haskins was coming out, going into the draft, a lot of people asked him, a lot of reporters, a lot of GMs, head coaches, they asked him if Dwayne Haskins was ready to play NFL football. Is he at an NFL caliber right now? And Urban Meyer told him, hell no. This guy is not ready at all. He can play, but he's not ready. He's not going to be a day one starter. He might not even be a year two starter. They didn't listen. Nobody listened. Washington went, took him, tried starting him. It hasn't worked out. Dude's not even there anymore. So he brings a lot of smarts. He knows the game of football. He knows what to do. Now it's just his chance. This is his time to prove that he can do something good in the NFL. This is a perfect fit for the Jags, especially with just how young this team is. Okay, they have a lot of young players because they've been shitty for a lot of years. They only had that 1 year, 4 or 5 years ago, when they went to the AFC Championship game, and I believe they played New England, and they lost. But, they shipped a lot of their guys out. Jalen Ramsey's not there. Yannick Ngakoue is not there. Leonard Fournette is not there. And AJ Boye is not there. They literally got rid of everybody. That alone right there helps Urban Meyer out tremendously. These guys are young, ready to roll, ready to learn a new system, because their minds are so young right now that they can learn more. If you're Tom Brady, it's hard. Very solid draft this year. Okay, they took quarterback in this draft. Well, guess what that means? Minshew Mania, or Mustache Mania, whatever the hell you want to call it, that's over. You're not going to see that no more. And if you do, it's going to be for a game, or if Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, because Trevor Lawrence is not going to make a lot of mistakes. Mustache, I'll wear it all day long. But I think he needs, and that's why Jacksonville went and took him, and I think that's exactly why he's the best quarterback coming out of this draft. Okay, the dude's just an absolute gloomy-ass, shitty day. But the one thing that's going to kind of bother me is, or not bother me, but really intrigue me, God, but that, hell no, will not happen, especially with 17 games. But when he loses that first game, what's going to happen? I think he was just fine in college, didn't faze him much. Going to Jacksonville, like we hope, or is he going to come back and lay another egg? And he's going to pair perfectly with James Robinson, who had that phenomenal year. Okay, what this does is, you got that James Robinson, who's that typical looking running back, kind of smaller, but he's going to pound it up the middle. But you got Travis Etienne, shifty, only gets faster when he runs, really, really, really good vision, and he has the ability to change directions in a blink of an eye. Okay, I watched a lot of film on him this morning, and the one thing that, all these things stand out. He's very quick. As soon as he gets by all the defenders, he's going to gain at least 2 to 5 more yards in front of him. And he has no stop. Has no stop to his game. You're going to have to put him on his ass. And you're going to have to figure out how to do that. And another thing is he's really super shifty. He really only needs about 1 centimeter to 1 inch of space. And by that I mean he can go up the hole, and he really likes to do this spin move. And that could hurt him, but I don't think it will, because you never know what, when you spin, you never know what the hell is on the other side of you, because you're blind to that. But he's done it very, very well and consistently when he was in Clemson. So his footwork, being able to do that, being able to be super shifty, blowing past defenders, his footwork is next level. This guy is NFL ready, and probably has been NFL ready probably since before the start of the last season, even though this last season was, his kind of breakout year, where everyone knew his name, everybody knew how good he was. He dropped pretty far. Granted, nobody really needed help at running back except for the fucking Chicago Bears, but I don't understand why they didn't do that. I do understand taking an offensive tackle, but, it is what it is. So with Travis Etienne, you're looking at an average per season of about 1,200 rushing yards, 17 to 18 rushing touchdowns. And then his total in receiving was about 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns. So you can utilize him in the passing game. And especially with being with Trevor Lawrence again, they're already going to have that chemistry, that bond. They're going to know what to do, when to do it. And I think that's exactly why they brought Travis Etienne here to A, boost the depth in that running back group, and B, already have a chemistry with another player that's right in front of you in that backfield with you. So you're on the same page. You're always clicking on the same time. You guys are going to be brothers now. So, I mean, he is really, really good. It's a very good draft pick. Very good vision with a great ability to change directions at the blink of an eye. And yeah, like, there's really not too much more to say about Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence besides these guys are going to be the centerpiece of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, I think James Robinson's still going to get equal amount of snaps as Travis, but I do think James Robinson's going to be more, or used more in like the 3-yard gain or a game or like 5-yard game, where Travis Etienne's going to be that guy who first, second down, just get as many yards as you can. And he's going to get a lot of them. He's going to have a lot of breakout runs. I really don't know who to compare him to because he's a lot like himself. Like that's who he is. That's his type of game. You let him do it just like you let Trevor Lawrence do his game, and you're going to be just fine. Okay? And then besides those two, they go out and they help out. They get cornerback help. They get an offensive tackle in Walker Little from Georgia, or from Stanford, who was actually a pretty decent, lineman, if you will. I don't think he was a top one, but he was pretty solid. And then, like we talked about, Jay Tufili, I'm pretty sure. He was a steal. They got him in the 4th round. That's a D tackle right there. That boosts your defensive line a little bit. You're starting to get back to normalcy. One thing I did notice about the Jacksonville Jaguars last year is their defense never really stopped. They were always kind of putting on that pressure until they couldn't hold it no more. And, I mean, that's going to happen to every team when your team just can't fucking score. You're going to eventually burn out. And that's why they're not a good team quite yet. But with a lot of this help, their free agency, they didn't do a whole lot in free agency, but they did stuff. It's going to help them a lot. And, with that being said, I do think they're on the come up. I've said that a couple times now. But it's more than likely not going to be right away that they're going to be solid, okay? But they should put up a decent fight in that AFC South division with the Titans, Texans, and Colts. Granted, the Titans and Colts are going to be one hell of a game for Trevor Lawrence and a big test for Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer, because you got to play them both twice, or all 3 of them twice a year. So that's 60 or 17 games. So now I don't expect them, like I said, to be a great team by any means, because they're still where they are, and they haven't really changed too much to the fact where I can be like, oh, yeah, shit, they got Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's not going to be like that. These guys are young, against grown-ass men. These kids right now are considered kids. Like, they're not grown men quite yet until they can prove, until that week 1 comes around and they can lay somebody. Just lay them out. So, it's not going to be right away. They're not going to be great. They're going to be good. And for right now, if I were to have to say anything, I'd be like, hey, expect at least 5 wins. At least 5 wins. Don't know who those 5 games are. Figure that out next Wednesday. But I do think we can expect them to get 5 wins. And if they get more, hell yeah. Hell fucking yeah. But, no fans really. Not really a good football atmosphere. It is, but it isn't. You got Miami down there who's trying to come up as well. So it's going to be interesting. If the Jacksonville Jaguars can pull this off, it's going to be very, very interesting. Kind of keep the same format a little bit like we have been, just kind of going through the teams, then give you guys some news. We have like my opinion shit, and then we have, some facts, so you guys actually can know what's kind of going on. But right now what we're going to talk about is that the NFL finally decided that it might be a good idea if they let the players pick their numbers they actually want instead of just being stuck with a number that they get. Awesome. I like it. Tom Brady hates it. I don't know. Me and him are going to have a little conversation. even though that's going to be a little bit in the making. But I understand where he was coming from, where you're probably not going to know who people are as much, but you still have to realize it's the same scheme and all that. But I still love this, okay? And the NFL owners finally approved this proposal on the changes to jersey numbers. And what this kind of means, I guess I'll go through it, is that, so you got running backs, tight ends, halfbacks, fullbacks, and wide receivers. They can be numbers 1 through 49 or numbers 80 through 89. So you got those smaller digits where before it was a lot of higher digits, so I think it was in the teens to like the 80 through 89. Then you go to the defensive backs. They can be numbers 1 through 49 as well. You got the linebackers, numbers 1 through 59, and numbers 90 through 99. And the reason for that they can only go up to 59, I believe, is because the offensive line, which is kind of different, is they can be numbers 50 through 79. Now, there's 9 numbers after 50, obviously, for the linebackers to choose, but it stops right at that 79 where the wide receivers can be 80 through 89. And then you got, linebackers 90 through 99. But that 90 through 99 also plays in part with the defensive line, who can be numbers 50 through 79 and 90 through 99. Okay, so a little confusing. I can put up a little graphic up on my Instagram or a picture so you guys can actually look at it and kind of see what it actually entails. But then you go to the kickers, punters, and quarterbacks. These guys are going to remain the same numbers 1 through 19. So that, obviously I understand that. I don't want my quarterback going out there being number like fucking 45, looking like a fullback. I think that'd just be, that would put me and Tom on the same page right there, where do not want that. Even, hey, hell, if you want to be that number, go for it. Shoot your shot. But 1 through 19 is pretty good for quarterbacks, kickers, and punters. But now, a lot of this, one of the main reasons, or actually the main reason that I read today that this actually happened, was that it apparently happened due to expanded practice squads due to COVID-19, okay, which led to a lot of number issues inside of a lot of clubs. And there were certain clubs that it happened to because obviously they probably had too many people compared to other teams. But that is, from what I read, one of the biggest issue of why this number change came out. And obviously the other part of it is the players probably just want to keep the number they've always loved, always wore. I know that I'd be in that same boat if I had to. I would love to keep my number. Going out there, like being a wide receiver, going number 12. If I could be number 12, I'd be a little upset. But that's why they did this. Ooh. And we have some news. So the Lions, I guess, are waiving former running back Kerryon Johnson. So that means, DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams are going to be their backs. So anyways, going away from that, we'll kind of maybe talk about Lions another day or something, I think, whenever that comes up. But now, another thing to put on this jersey thing is, if players decide to switch their numbers this year, okay, say if they go out right now and they want, like, I'm changing my number, like Budda Baker, okay, 32 to number 3. And I'm pretty sure Alvin Kamara also did the same thing, changing his number to, I can't remember if it was 41 or something, but he changed his number to 69. So for those players, since they changed their numbers this year, they are going to have to buy out their existing jerseys that are currently on the market or in the inventory of the NFL or whatever that are featuring their current number. So that means Budda Baker, since he changed from 32 to 3, every one of his jerseys that were number 32 that were still in inventory and they still had holding, he has to buy every single one of those. And that's, obviously so that fans don't get the wrong jersey because it's not his number no more. Okay? But what I didn't know early until actually today when I was reading about it is if the players want to change their number for next season, in the 2022 season, they need to give a notice. Okay? And what that notice is going to do for them is it pretty much means that they're not going to, they won't have to buy out their current inventory or current uniform inventory. So that's a really big thing, because that means if you are going to give them a notice, I'm not sure on the correct or the number of like how long they have to give the notice for, but that notice is so that the NFL can halt jersey making, so that you don't have to buy a fuckload of jerseys that were just shipped out everywhere, which gives a lot of players, probably a lot of love. Like the players are like, hell yeah, okay. And honestly, what that does, and what I think is going to happen because of that, and I'm glad I actually read that and actually seen that, I'd expect a lot of players to switch their numbers next year. Not so much this year. We're going to see it here and there. Mainly the rookies that came in are going to get their numbers. But expect a lot of that shit next year. Because some of those guys, obviously, the majority of them, if once they leave the NFL, they go bankrupt. They have no more money. So they're not going to want to buy out their entire inventory unless they actually have a plan to. So that with that rule, it gives them the opportunity to say, hey, next year I'm going to have to change my jersey number to this. They're like, all right, sounds good. We'll stop making those your jerseys that you have on now, and you won't have to buy them. And I think that is awesome that the NFL did that. And I kind of expected something like that. I just didn't know it until I went and actually read it. But awesome for the jersey number switch. Like I said, if you guys were a little confused about that, I will get up a picture for sure by tomorrow morning for you guys to kind of go look at. So with that being said, that is all we got for today. It was another awesome hour. Expect that going forward. We're usually going to start at 6 p.m. Central Time every goddamn day, Monday through Friday. Go an hour. Mention that, I think, Monday, but hey, it's always good to keep you guys in the loop. But I hope you all enjoyed today's show, and then, obviously continue to watch the best in the game right here. Get your fix every goddamn day, because that's what we do here. But, hey, with that being said, we'll see you tomorrow. And you